listener production.
Hey, it's Antoinette Lattouf, and this is the Weekend Briefing. It's where we hit pause on the headlines and I get to zoom in on someone fascinating and find out what's really going on with them behind the sound bites. And this week, it's Iranian-born American comedian and actor Maz Jobrani. He's currently in Australia on tour. We get into why he swapped political science at university for stand-up comedy, how he finds comedy amid the current global geopolitical chaos, and whether recently being named a top 20 Great Immigrant is code for watch your back, immigration body, ICE is coming for you. Later it is the Weekend List with Helens and I, and consider us your slightly bossy besties telling you what to watch, eat, do, and everything in between. But first, the sharp, the hilarious, and the occasionally deportation-prone Maz Jobrani. Maz, welcome to the Weekend Briefing. Welcome to Australia.
Thank you. Happy to be here. I love it out here.
I want to talk about your personal journey at first for Australian audiences who may not be familiar with it. So you came to the US as a kid during the Iranian Revolution. Why did your family leave and why America?
Well, my father was a successful businessman in Iran, and he had a lot of friends who were in the government. He had a lot of connections. And I think when the Islamic Revolution was happening, there was a fervor where anybody who was associated with the Shah's government, but my father wasn't in the government, but he just had friends who were. So anybody who was successful, their lives could be at risk. So my father was on business in New York, and he told my mother to come out and bring me and my sister. And we thought we were going to come out and stay for a couple of weeks. We thought that the protests would quiet down and we'd go back. But I always say we packed for 2 weeks and we stayed for 47 years.
Yeah, wow. That's like reusing the same underwear quite a bit.
Yes, I still have the same underwear from when I was 6 years old.
So you studied political science. We're going to fast forward a few years. You studied political science and Italian, which is an interesting kind of merger. Was that your way of preparing to debate dictators and seduce them over espresso?
Yes, no, I was inspired by the Roman Empire, and I wanted to learn it all in the proper language. No, political science was a major I picked because I thought I was going to go to law school because that's what my immigrant parents wanted. Matter of fact,
course they did.
Of course they did. And when I told my mother that I was not going to be a lawyer, and I wanted to be a comedian, she said, "You can just be a lawyer and you can tell jokes in court." She was still negotiating.
That's the best.
Exactly. And so that was my political science. And then while I was at college, I studied abroad in Italy for a year because I'd fallen in love with the Italian language. It's really a beautiful language. And so I got a chance to go to Italy for a year. I had an Italian girlfriend that didn't speak any English, so my Italian was really good by the time I left. And now when I go into Italian restaurants, I've been doing it all over Australia. Anytime they're Italian, I start practicing my Italian. So,
and what's it like these days?
There's a lot of, in Italian, when you say, how do you say come si dici, come si dici, come si dice, come si dice, which is how does one say? So it feels like my vocabulary has come down a lot. There's a lot of allora, there's a lot of pauses and M's and ums.
Okay, so going well. As you said, you were doing your PhD in political science, but at what point did you decide, given I'm always racially profiled, I'm going to try my hand at being underpaid for making people laugh about it?
Absolutely, and I'm happy that you know that we start out very underpaid. When you first start doing stand-up comedy, the clubs, like the Comedy Store in Los Angeles, they would pay you $15 for 15 minutes. So it's you need a day job because you're not going to be able to pay any rent. But, I was a big fan of comedy since I was a kid. When I was around 10 years old or so in Northern California where I grew up, I first discovered Eddie Murphy and then would watch Saturday Night Live. And then I would watch all the other comedians, Rodney Dangerfield special. And so I was a big fan of comedy before I decided to become a comedian. And then, like I said, I decided to go on stage in the 7th grade. There was a junior high school musical, and I auditioned for it. And I got on stage, and I really liked being on stage. And the director even pointed out, she was like, "You're really good. You can do this." So my parents would come to the shows, and she would say, "He's got that, the acting bug. He's got the bug." And my parents would say, "Oh, thank you, thank you." Then we get in the car, and my dad would be like,
no.
"She's crazy. Don't listen to her. You're not gonna get rid of the bug." So I'd wanted to do it. I'd wanted to do it my whole life. And the truth is, that's why I'm so much of an advocate for anyone who has found their passion. And I tell parents all the time, I go, if you have a child who says, "I like to paint, I like to climb rocks, whatever it is," just encourage them because, it's hard to find that passion. And when you found that passion, it will not leave you alone. And thank God that when I was in my mid-20s, I finally had the realization that you live once, so you got to live for yourself, not for your parents.
There was a reel that caught my attention on your Instagram. It was a throwback to 2005. You're on a late night show, I believe, and you're talking about how people from Iran make themselves more palatable.
Iranians, we've learned how to deal with it. We've learned how to trick Americans. We say we're Persian. It sounds a lot nicer and exotic and confuses Americans, We're always like, no, I'm not Iranian. No, I am Persian. Like the cat, meow. I am the cat, meow. I am not axis of evil. No. I am Persian, like the rock. I am soft. You can lay down on me.
So that was obviously 20 years ago. Is that as relevant then as it is now in terms of the political palatability of being from Iran? I'm just for your background, my family's from Lebanon.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as a Lebanese person, it feels like what we said 20 years ago is even more relevant today.
I know, right? Just when we thought things were getting a bit better, we're under the illusion things are maybe getting a bit better.
In comedy, they say, don't do topical material because it'll age out. You got to do evergreen material that can last for years and years. Well, being Iranian-American, all this stuff has been evergreen now for 50 years. It seems like it's not going away. And I would be beyond ecstatic if we found a way to, bring peace and I could go on and do jokes about my family.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if you had the luxury of just making jokes about your balls and how you hate your mother-in-law?
You know what? I do balls jokes.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
okay.
Of course. I need
good
to
for
do
you.
that.
Good for you.
Yes, and I actually like my mother-in-law, but I will say this to you. Jokingly, I say, I wish I were Swedish. I do. I say, if I were, because when you're Swedish, you tell people you're Swedish, they go, "Oh, that's great." IKEA. Meatballs, that's all they get, And you as Lebanese, me as an Iranian, I think we have a lot more to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. So from that clip in 2005, then fast forward a decade or so to 2016, you perform at the White House and you introduced Michelle Obama, which is obviously a huge moment. Like, what kind of comedian would get Trump's invite now or be there to invite Trump?
I can tell you what kind of comedian won't get a Trump invite right here. It's actually kind of funny because for years when I would go to Washington, D.C., I would perform at the Kennedy Center. And I'm going to be going back to Washington, D.C. this year. And before Trump even won, we had some issue with the Kennedy Center. So we ended up, booking another venue in the D.C. area. And then once Trump won and made himself the CEO of the Kennedy Center, I told my agents and managers, I go, thank God we did not do the deal with them because I'm 90 some odd % sure that they would have taken me off the schedule because all you got to do is watch my 2017 Netflix special, Immigrant, where I talk and make fun of him a lot. So I don't know. Well, we saw Tony Hinchcliffe, who's actually a friend of mine. He was the guy who performed at that big rally. So I guess that's the Trump comedian. I don't know. I have no idea.
You mentioned your Netflix special, Immigrant, but just in recent weeks, you were recognized as top 20 immigrant by the Carnegie Institute. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a very unexpected surprise because if you look at the list, so the Carnegie Foundation, I guess every year in honor of their namesake, Andrew Carnegie, who was an immigrant from, I think, somewhere in it was either Ireland or Scotland or somewhere there. in honor of him, they do it every year. They pick 20. They call it Great Immigrants, I believe. And I was chosen this year. And then I look at the list, and it's like, this person, Nobel laureate, and this person is a, billionaire tech entrepreneur. And then it's like, this guy tells jokes, So I guess they want to have one or two light characters in the middle of it all.
Well, you now have even more attention on you as an immigrant with this award, which no doubt is both something to be proud of, but are you also like looking over your shoulder that ICE now might be tapping it?
It's so funny you say that. When it came out, I had some people say that. They go, "Oh, great! This is just a list for ICE to deport people."
Yeah.
I actually did a show the other day, and I did a show in Hermosa Beach, California, and my audiences tend to be very, immigrant-y. There's Iranians and Lebanese and Asian and Indian and Pakistani, and then there's obviously the white people from that country as well. But at one point in the show, I said, "Oh my God!" I go, "Can you imagine?" Like, I go, "This is like a fantasy for ICE. Like, they could just walk. They're probably outside waiting. They're going, there's a room full of them. We can just deport all of them." Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad.
So, as well as obviously using your platform to make people laugh, there's political commentary. You've also used your platform quite powerfully, especially during the Women Life Freedom protests that was sparked in 2022, Mahsa Amini, her death in police custody. As a comedian, like, how do you draw that line between humour and heartbreak, and also the responsibility of having a social platform to advocate for those who don't have the voice that you have?
Yeah, I think in my mind, I kind of think like, who am I to say something? Meaning like, who am I to have people listen to me? Like, are people going to listen to me? So when I decide to say something serious, I'm always a little hesitant because I also don't want to preach. And so, social media is relatively new, the past 10, 15 years or so. So there was a time where you were a comedian or you were a politician or you were an activist or you were whatever. And sure, causes would come along that you would lend your name to, but you never felt like you had to stand in front of a camera and speak about it. And so really during the Mahsa Amini protest, I think I really was doing a lot of, talking to the camera and just posting things. And I try to really I always say I'm on the side of the people, whether it's in Iran or whether it's in America or wherever it is. I'm on the side of the people, whether it's in Gaza. I'm on the side of the people. And so that's where my heartbreak comes because, I'm a human being like everybody else. So I see what everyone's seeing. And just because I'm supposed to be funny all the time doesn't mean I'm going to be funny all the time. Now, that said, that's your social media part. The part on stage, you got to be careful on stage. If you're going to talk about serious stuff on stage, you need to have a punchline coming soon because the audience is there for laughs. And so, yes, you can be serious for a little bit, but bring me a punchline so that I can just breathe and have a release.
One of the platforms, notorious for cultivating comedians is the late night comedy show in the US. You've been on a bunch, James Corden, Jay Leno, The Late Show with Craig Ferguson, The Colbert Report. How significant is it for a comedian to get a call and invite it on one of those programs?
There was a time when it could make you, right? So when Johnny Carson was having his program watched by tens and 20 million, several million people every night, they say back in those days, if you did a set and you did well, it could launch your touring career. Now you don't get as many eyeballs on your performance. Where you do get the eyeballs is where you get to post it on your social media or elsewhere, and hopefully it goes viral. And also I've been on the Colbert Late Night with Steven Colbert 4 times now, and it's just, you feel like, first of all, you're dealing with top writers, you're dealing with a top host. I mean, he's so sharp and so smart and so funny, and so you just feel like you're elevated. You kind of feel, for those 7 minutes that you're on the show, you're like, oh, I've arrived, and then you leave the theater and you're like, oh, okay, I got to get an Uber, go do more stand-up comedy in a comedy club. But it's a great feeling and it feels nice. It's like you're getting a tap on your shoulder and going, hey, yeah,
Mm.
we're acknowledging what you've done, and we feel like you could play with the big boys.
Mm.
So it's a really good feeling.
Is there a sense that this may be indicative of things to come? Like, obviously, with CBS deciding not to renew that show, presumably it's a financial decision, whether or not it has the same kind of eyeballs and advertising power that it used to. Am I being catastrophic? I am a journalist. We tend to be a little bit fatalistic
No,
about whether
listen.
this is an indication of what's to come.
Well, listen, there's so much happening between social media and then AI and whose job is safe, whose job isn't safe. And so, yes, if you look at it just purely financially, it's not as lucrative as it used to be.
Yes.
But we know in this case, there was definitely politics behind it because the truth is they could have gone to Stephen Colbert and said, hey, can we shoot it for less? Would you take a pay cut? Would you work with a
Yeah.
smaller staff? Is there a way to do 3 shows a week instead of 5 shows a week? Jon Stewart is now just doing 1 show a week and the others are
Mm.
on there. So there's ways to be creative. And I feel that if they did not feel the pressure to please Trump, that they would have
Mm.
at least started a conversation with Colbert and then allowed Colbert to say, you know what, guys, it's too much work. I need time for my family. I can't do this. But the fact that then the way that they did it, it's really just, it's very disheartening. And I, have really been an advocate of like, you got to stand up to this tyranny because that's what we
Yes.
see in authoritarian states. And
Yeah.
now it's not the authoritarian doing the censoring, but it's the market doing the
Doing it for
censoring
them.
to please the authoritarian, which is almost worse.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like we're living in a Russian oligarchy or something. So I'm happy that South Park did that very funny cartoon making fun.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that Jimmy Kimmel continues to. I know that a lot of people continue to. I did my little version on my own Instagram page of just making fun of Trump, and I think if we want to keep our democracy, we
Mm.
got to stop it somewhere.
So when Israel started bombing Iran too, a few weeks ago and Trump was supporting it, for a few weeks the world was very anxious about how this would play out. People were like, World War III, is this going to blow up? But not so much you. Let's take a listen.
I don't trust any of the leaders. I don't trust the Netanyahu, Khamenei, Trump, none of them. Like, they got us close. First of all, like, they're all sociopaths, okay? Like, Netanyahu's name sounds like a euphemism for someone who's crazy. Right? You're like, I don't know if he's nuts, but he's definitely a little Netanyahu, a little Netanyahu. He's a little Netanyahu for sure, that guy's a fucking little Netanyahu. Then you got the supreme leader of Iran. He says he's got a direct line to God. His name is Khamenei. You guys can't say it. Khamenei. Khamenei. Doesn't sound like someone who's got a direct line to God. It sounds like a dish at a Chinese food restaurant. Let me get a Khamenei chicken and a Netanyahu beef. And I'll take a Trump shrimp, please. Thank you very much.
Well, firstly, I think I can say Khamenei. I think I'm one of the few people that is able to say, is that
Yeah.
right? Khamenei?
It's actually kind of hard. It's Khamenei. Khamenei.
Oh, Khamenei.
Yeah, the problem is the previous supreme leader was Khomeini, and then this one's Khamenei. So their names are so close. It would be like if after Trump we had Trump, and you'd be like, who is it?
Yeah, right.
Right?
I wish dictators had more variations in their names to make it
They
easier
really
for people
gotta-
like us.
They really got to work on that.
But really, what was it like then? How concerned were you? Not, only for the state of the world, but, for also presumably friends and family.
Yeah, I was very concerned. I will be the first to say that I know that, the regime in Iran is brutal to its people. We saw that with the Masa Amini situation and the protests that happened and, political prisoners and all kinds of stuff. And there's no room for dissent. And it's an authoritarian state. I'll be the first one to say that. But I don't feel that attacking them and bombing them is going to expedite them leaving. And the problem is, as we both know, the amount of collateral damage that can happen and the amount of lives that are lost can be, high numbers. And so just seeing those first few days and seeing reports of civilians and others who happened to be in the buildings that they were taking out and were being killed, I knew right away because the Iranian diaspora is very divided. There's some people that hate the regime so much that they were saying, oh, this will help, finish the job. And my response to them was, it's easy for you to say that when you're thousands of miles away and you're not in the streets of Iran having bombs rain down on you. Some people were saying, why aren't the people of Iran spilling into the streets and protesting and, taking back the government? I said, because there's bombs coming overhead. You can't go out and protest.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, war is a very, very ugly thing, and many, many lives get lost. And so I was definitely worried that it was going to escalate more and more, that other countries would get involved. And to your point, it really felt like we were very close to World War III. And I don't know if we're out of it yet. I always say, I think the reason I love doing what I do and being around other people who are comedians and even people that are artists in the sort, I think that art and comedy brings people together and it humanizes people, whereas war dehumanizes people. So, yeah, that's my hope is that we can work more towards humanizing.
You're obviously in Australia touring and then New Zealand next. What can people expect from your show?
A lot of tears. No.
Yeah, because that's what we need more of, tears and trauma.
Yes, I sing sad songs for 2 hours. No, it's a fun night. It's a fun live comedy show. We've done now some of your other cities here and had a blast, Brisbane, Melbourne, Adelaide. And it's just, like I said, I love having a mixed crowd. I love talking to my crowd. And I have stories to tell you myself. And my opening act, his name is Tehran. His father's Iranian. His mother is African-American, Black.
His name is Tehran?
Yeah, his Iranian father named him the capital of Iran in America. So he's got a lot of issues.
Well, then he can join the Tehrangeles. There was an article in the Hollywood Reporter, people from Iran that live in Los Angeles in comedy. And I just have a show idea. I mean, you can take it. Charlie's Tehrangels.
Charlie's Tehrangels. Oh, gosh. You know what? You should stick to journalism.
Workshop it with me. I'm trying to help you out.
I thought you were going to say Charlize Theron, like the Persian Charlize Theron.
Look, at least it'll give you a role in a movie that's not a terrorist.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to that. That's my whole goal.
Okay. Let's keep talking. My people will speak to your people. We'll work on a script.
Beautiful. Let's make it happen. We got to work on the title, but the rest we can do.
Maz Jobrani's show is touring Australia and New Zealand. He actually hit Sydney on Saturday, the 2nd of August, then over to New Zealand. And if you want to check out his latest special, it's called The Birds and the Bees. It's up on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube or head over to Maz Jobrani, which is MazJobrani.com. It'll also be in the show notes. It is time for the, in my opinion, best time of the week. It is the time of the week when you get unsolicited tips on what to do. And given we have no expertise, but lots of opinions, Helen, I'm keen to hear yours.
Well, my first recommendation is food. It's a little snack. It's kind of like a healthy-ish treat.
Okay.
And they're no-bake banana cookie dough balls. So I know it sounds a bit complex, but it's actually not.
Yes.
You grab your bowl, you mash up a banana, then you put almond meal, a nut butter. So you can do whatever you want, really. Peanut butter, almond butter, or, whatever. I don't even know if there's any other nut butters, but...
Nuttalex?
Mate, that's butter. That's actual butter.
No, Nuttalex is like a nut.
No, it's not.
Is it?
That's like butter spread. Nuttalex.
Oh, okay.
Don't use Nuttalex.
Okay, sorry. I shouldn't interrupt. Proceed.
So no Nuttalex, but any other nut butter. And then you can put...
That is such a misleading name. Nuttalex.
I know, Anne, but it's not. It's not.
Well, it's fooled me. Continue.
Moving on. So you also put almond meal, and then you can put protein powder, a little bit of salt, a cinnamon, vanilla extract, and then some maple syrup or agave syrup just to sweeten it up. Mix it all together so it's a nice kind of pasty consistency, like a bit doughy, and create little balls, and then dip them in chocolate. So dark chocolate, or you can do white chocolate if you want. Dip them in, put them on a tray, put them in the fridge, done.
That sounds like a protein ball?
It kind of is, but it's not.
Okay, that sounds like a protein ball that's had a glow up in its name.
It's a glow up, but it's so yummy.
Okay.
But doesn't that sound cute?
It does.
Banana cookie dough balls.
Yeah, it does sound cute.
Yeah.
All right. I'm still getting over Nuttalex and the fake protein balls that you just...
Oh, come on.
Okay, so my recommendation is a memoir by an Australian author called Kate Halfpenny. It's called Boogie Wonderland. It was just published this month. It's just really funny. I'm enjoying it because it's really funny. So she had a sea change during COVID. That's when lots of people decided that they all had the same, actually very common idea of get out of the city and go move coastal. And the long and the short of it is her life turns to shit. When she does, a whole bunch of stuff happens and she has to figure out what to do next. And it's really well written. It's very self-deprecating and honest. She's really honest and reflective about her own stuff-ups, which I really enjoy reading.
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't finished it yet, but I find myself looking forward to jumping in and reading what's next. And I don't often feel that way about, memoirs.
Yeah, they can be tricky.
I think that, yes, exactly. They can be tricky. And I'm really enjoying this. Boogie Wonderland by Kate Halfpenny.
I like it when people are actually honest that they're not perfect.
Oh, like she's so honest from the beginning and that's
good.
what drew me in.
Yeah, I love that. My next recommendation is just in case you want a bit of a refresh, we're kind of halfway into the year and your hair can make you feel so good. And I'm talking about anyone, like guys, girls, whatever.
Yep.
Hair is a big thing sometimes, but it's bloody expensive.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is Facebook hair model groups. Now, I've been doing this for years. Like, it's my hack. Like, being a hair model is seriously the best thing you can do if you get your hair dyed or you want a cheap haircut or anything.
But are they students?
Look, sometimes, but they're not at the same time. They've always got an instructor. They've always got a senior person with them if they're a student, but I've never had a student. I've had people that just want to create content for their social media. They're senior hairdressers. Maybe they're like the junior ones, but if they're none of these are at home, they're all in salons.
With supervision.
With high, also they're all in salons, but usually they're very expensive salons. Like I'm talking,
like high-end salons.
I'm going to be paying $500 for what I'm actually getting done.
And you get it done for free?
You can get it done for free or really discounted price, like $100.
That's really clever.
So these are the best hair model groups that I've found, and they're throughout Australia. They're all called Hair Models Sydney, New South Wales, and then they have an asterisk, no in-home, no in-home jobs pretty much. So there's one for Adelaide, there's one for Sydney, there's one for Melbourne, Victoria.
Right.
There's all across Australia. And they're really well vetted as well. You can go through the comments. The timing sometimes is hard to get it during the weekday, but there are late night appointments or weekends sometimes.
That's a really good hack for saving money. And it's good that you've had good experiences because when my sister she's a beauty therapist, when she was training, I was always her model. And I will never forget the time she dyed my eyebrows green. She was trying to tint them and they came out dark green.
Well, I shaved my brother's eyebrow off.
Yeah, but you weren't like
bad. But I wasn't training.
You were probably a child.
I was a child. I was doing beauty salon on him.
Oh, yeah, very, very good. Well, I'm glad you've had a great experience.
Yeah.
And it is a good way to save money because it is so expensive to keep doing your hair.
But definitely make sure it's a proper salon. It's vetted, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I've had great experiences and look, I've saved hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Very good. Okay, so my recommendation is a thing called somatic therapy. So I'm a deeply traumatized, troubled person.
I think.
No, that's EMDR.
Oh, okay.
So if you've ever felt like stress or trauma is not obviously just in your head and your thoughts, but it's lodged in your body, which a lot of people do. They feel when you're feeling unwell or anxious, you can kind of feel where it is in your body. Yeah. I've started doing somatic therapy, and it's a body-based approach to healing. And I guess it works on the belief that trauma can be stuck in your nervous system.
Oh, 100% it can.
And so somatic experiences use things like gentle shaking, breath work, posture shifts, like bodily sensations and noticing them to help release tension. And I guess the idea is that when you tune into your body, what your body's holding, you can start to let it go. The science is still emerging about this. I am not suggesting in any way, shape or form, I am a medical practitioner. Go and see your GP, get a mental health plan, whatever, do all the right things.
Yeah.
I have done cognitive behavioral therapy, which is like talk therapy for many, many years when I had postnatal depression and a bunch of other things. But there's something about this particular type of therapy that I have found I can actually feel things releasing from my body.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm enjoying it because
It's a lot.
it's a lot, but I think it's something worth trying if you're feeling like what you're doing isn't working.
I've done breathwork therapy before. My best friend's a breathwork facilitator, and it's full on, but it is all connected with your nervous system. The type that she does, it's all facilitated. So the practitioners go around and actually move you depending on the nervous system, like move your arms up, and it's all, that part is all very scientific. But it is such a weird experience, but it does release. It releases like parts of your body that you didn't even know that you're holding trauma or holding tension even.
Yeah,
it doesn't even have to be like
it doesn't have to be
full on.
trauma.
It's just stress sometimes,
Yeah.
or it's just how we're actually operating in this everyday life as humans. We absorb so much, and our bodies aren't even catching up to what we're seeing and absorbing and like processing.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's such an interesting like type of therapy. Yeah.
Okay, well, try that at home if you like, but also do it with a healthcare professional or someone experienced. That is our recommendations, and that is it for this week. Thanks so much for being with us. If you want more of the Weekend Briefing, you can find us on the Listener app. You download the Listener app in the App Store. Follow us there. Otherwise, follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. And I'd love to hear your feedback. Haven't heard your thoughts on the Weekend Briefing this last couple of weeks. So tell me if you enjoyed hanging out with Maz Jobrani as much as I did. We will be back Monday morning where the team will have the latest headlines straight to your headphones along with some interesting interviews. Stay safe. Catch you next week.